Hello and welcome to Crowforest, the podcast. So it's been a couple of weeks since I posted last. I've gotten busy with other things, so sorry about that. But I will pick back up where we left off a couple of weeks ago with another production section starting on December 14 of 2022. Unexpected production trip. My sister needed help setting up her Christmas decorations, particularly her Fontanini set, a miniature recreation of Bethlehem, complete with buildings, roads, people, and animals. Setting this up has been an annual tradition in our family for the past 20 years or more, and I always have fun doing it. This is probably a big part of why I got into miniatures in the first place. So I set up the miniature village while my sister was at work, thus why she needed help on account of working crazy hours. And while I did it, I had an idea for a dramatic final shot of the movie. Since we decided to set the movie around Halloween, I figured that the last shot of the movie could be a bit of a time skip to a couple of months later, once her Christmas decorations were up. So I thought it would be cool to do a dramatic pan around of her house, panning past the lights and the tree over to the Fontanini village. Then I could do a zoom up to a building, linger on it for a moment, and then have a light come on inside one of the miniature buildings. I thought that this was a great idea for a final shot because it's visually linked with the motif, it's creepy, and in keeping with the overall theme, it makes no sense. So all in all, a perfect final shot. Then, before I went to bed, I put my dash cam into Maureen's car to get footage of her driving to work the next day. My particular model of dash cam is a little unusual in that it has both forward-facing and rear-facing cameras that record simultaneously. So I could get footage of her in the car driving and also get footage of the road at the same time. I figure this will come in handy during the editing process. And, in particular, I found that shot to be quite useful to have editing the various montages that I have, particularly the shopping montage where she's going around town, killing time before going to movie night on account of not wanting to be in the house anymore. So that was good to have. All right, and that is it for that day. So continuing on with December 15 of 2022. I finished setting up the village today, getting everything plugged into a surge protector so that I could use the power button to switch the lights on. And then I filmed the final shot. I got it a few times just to make sure that one of them would work, but I was still a little concerned that the shot wasn't ending up in quite the right place. So I got a couple more shots starting on the building with the light on, turning it off, and then proceeding to do the shot backwards. I think this will end up making it a bit smoother, and I can easily reverse the clip in post to make it play the right way. I know they say never to rely on fixing it in post, but this is the exception. It's a really easy fix. Though I should note that the only reason this works is because it's a silent shot. If it's a dialogue shot, you can't do it this way. Once I got that done, I got a couple more insert shots, tossing the deck of cards again, and hoping to get some better coverage, getting a cool shot of the garage door closing filmed from underneath, and redoing the globe spin stop motion shot. I also set up the desk in the office with a bunch of props that I will be able to duplicate in miniature, including a banker's lamp, which I found a miniature version of in a Michael's craft store, and Maureen's copy of the Poisoner's Handbook, which I made a tiny replica of, and which hopefully I won't get sued over, since I don't exactly have an image release on the cover of that book, but that's probably fine. Then, once Maureen got back from work, I filmed her side of the conversation where she's trying to set up a movie night. I'll try to get the other side of the conversation with my older sister in a few days once I'm back home. And, I don't recall whose line got dropped, but I am still trying to pick up a dropped line. I don't even remember what the line was. I think it's just like a single word that got dropped, and now the conversation doesn't make sense. So I need to go back, figure out whose line it was, figure out what the word was, and re-record that and put it back in so that the scene makes sense. Otherwise, the whole movie falls apart. So if you're watching this and that scene doesn't make sense, I guess I never got around to fixing it. So, sorry. Okay, that was the end of that day. So, looks like just 2 more short-ish sections, so I guess I'll go ahead and finish those out. I guess kind of do like a double episode today since I didn't do one for a couple of weeks, so we'll kind of catch up here. So, December 17, 2022. I'm back home now, and I've started working on the larger scale miniature models. I printed out a photo of Maureen's desk and cut it down to just the tabletop, and then I made a tiny table out of cardboard and adhered the desktop picture to it. Then I proceeded to put all of the miniature items on the desk to match up with the larger scale shot that I had gotten a few days earlier. A tiny desk lamp, tiny Stonehenge, tiny lighthouse, and the miniature book that I had made. I did an overhead zoom-in shot, panning over to the book in the middle of the table, matching what I had done before. After that, I set up my green screen and got into the wax figure costume. The costume turned out to be incredibly difficult to get on, and once I had finally managed it, I found that I couldn't see anything at all. I did a few motions in the costume, holding my arms out in front of me, bringing my hands up and looking at both sides of them, and bringing my hands to the side of my face in a silent scream. I considered trying to pick up the miniature as I had originally intended, but I decided against it on account of not being able to see. Also, the gloves weren't really on properly. The fingers had kind of fused together, so I couldn't get any of my fingers up into them. So any attempt to pick up the miniature would likely have ended in disaster. I don't know how this shot is going to turn out, but hopefully something will be usable. I'm going to have to figure out some way around the glove issue and the lack of sight issue if I'm going to be able to finish filming this sequence. I guess I'll just consider this a test shot. And if you go to my YouTube page, you can find a clip of me putting on the suit and moving around in front of the green screen. So that's kind of a cool behind-the-scenes clip if you want to take a look at that and laugh at me stumbling around in the dark and all of that. I may even decide to put that clip in here as a little bit of a video in the podcast, since I don't think anyone has actually listened to it on the Podbean app. Not that that's surprising, considering no one's ever heard of that. But since all my views are on YouTube, I might as well add a little bit of a video element. So I may do that. If you're seeing it, then I guess I did. All right, and that is it for that day. And our last day will be December 18, 2022. I was recently listening to an audiobook on filmmaking while I was working on various film tasks. And that's where I got a good idea about marketing for the film. Oh, this is gonna get meta. Okay, yeah, this is cool. That's where I got a good idea about marketing for the film. Alex Ferrari, the author of the book, said that one of the best things that you can do as a new filmmaker trying to gain an audience is to start a podcast. So that way you can create constant content, tell your people about your film project, and create free value for your audience. I thought that this was a great idea, and it's definitely something that I'll be able to do. I already have a written account of what I've been doing, i.e. this book, so it wouldn't be any trouble at all to read passages from this book and call it a podcast. I know that you're supposed to have guests for a proper podcast, and maybe I can do that at some point, but at the very least, this will make for a less rambly podcast than some I've listened to. So I went out into my filming set to record the audio for the first episode of my podcast, using my lower resolution camera since I won't need actual video for this. And yes, I know it is possible to record just audio, but for some reason it never seems to work right when I try. Whenever I've tried to record audio through my computer, it always records really low, and then when I inevitably have to add gain, it gets really grainy. I'm sure it's user error, but I just don't get audio. Since that, I have started recording on my phone, because phones record audio fine. I don't know what my issue was with the computer audio recorder app. Whatever pre-installed audio recorder app is included in Windows. For some reason, I have never been able to get it to work right, and that's something some of these things that I write in the book, I figure out later what I was doing wrong. That's one that I've never figured out what I was doing wrong, but phones record audio fine, so I'm able to do it that way now. But yeah, kind of a little bit of a meta look at how I was writing a book, and then I turned that into a podcast because this guy said that that was a good idea. And now it's to the part of the book where I said that I was going to make a podcast out of the book that I'm writing, and now it's to the point where I'm saying in the podcast that I'm starting a podcast because I'm reading from the book where it says that. So that's kind of cool, if you followed any of that. So yeah, that's kind of cool, I think, maybe. Let's see, and that was the end of that section. So we will pick up next week, back in another post-production section, starting with December 21st of 2022. Hope to see you then.